Today we're going to take the overview that we did of cellular respiration from the last lecture, and we're going to add to that and get more in depth with cellular respiration, beginning with glycolysis. Glycolysis is the first step in cellular respiration, and it does occur outside of the mitochondria, meaning that it's going to take place in the cytoplasm. It does not require oxygen, and it is broken into two sets of steps. One set we refer to as energy investment steps, because we're going to put in 2 ATPs in order to get glycolysis to go and to get the products that we need from it. And then there are the energy harvesting steps. And this is where the oxidation of G3P is going to occur. And in addition to that, we're going to have a number of 4 being produced, 4 ATPs being produced, which is going to give us a grand total in glycolysis of 2 ATPs for ATP production. So you'll see that here that the inputs are glucose, 2 NAD pluses, 2 ATPs, 4 ADPs, and 4 phosphates. Our outputs are going to be 2 pyruvates, 2 NADHs and H pluses, 2 ADPs, and 4 ATPs total. We start with 2, put in 2, we get out 4, so we end up with a net gain of 2 ATPs in glycolysis. And here, again, with the diagrams, you'll notice that it's in color, so this is what's occurring outside the mitochondria in the cytoplasm, and it's going to go in to feed the other reactions. Let's take a little bit closer look to see what's going on in glycolysis. So we start off with it's actually a ring. We're going to write it as a chain of glucose, which is C6. I'll write that down up here. Glucose is C6H12O6. I concentrate on the C6 backbone of carbon that we have to deal with. So what's going to happen with glucose during glycolysis, and for all you med-term people, or those of you taking med-term next semester, gly or glyco refers to sugar. Lysis refers to disintegrate or break down, decompose. So we're going to break down a sugar, which is glucose. So what's going to happen is we're going to put in 2 ATP, and ATP is going to, that energy is going to cause this glucose molecule to break down into 2 separate molecules that we refer to as G3P molecules, and puts a phosphate on them. That's where one of the phosphates comes from this ATP, the other phosphate comes from here, so now you have these in 2 ADPs. So that's the first step that happens. The next thing that occurs in each one of these G3P molecules, let's write that over here so we have it, G3P. Your textbook refers to this phase of glycolysis up here as the investment phase. And the reason it's called the investment phase is because we're putting in 2 ATP that have to be put into this. So we're using them to start off with. We're going to see here in a minute how they get recouped. The second phase that we're going to look at down here is called the harvesting phase. And harvesting is where you recoup something or you get something back. So what happens in the investment stage and then the harvesting stage? The harvesting stage is going to begin by these G3P molecules being turned into a 3-carbon pyruvate. So there's 2 of those that are produced. In the process, there are 2 ATP that are produced and an NADH. And this NADH is going to be used later in the electron transport chain. So those 2 ATP here are given off. So that's part of the harvesting stage. And on this side, because we have this identical molecule, it's also going to, in the process of being changed from G3P to pyruvate, going to give off 2 ATP, I just noticed my mistake over here, ATP molecules here, 2 ATP molecules here, and an NADH molecule here. So we have an investment of 2, so we lost 2 to begin with, put it in, we recoup 4 ATP, and my overall gain, or net gain, is 2 ATP. Don't you just love it when algebra comes back into play in biology? So 2 ATP is what gets produced during the breakdown or decomp of sugar called glycolysis. This is a diagram that your book provides just to show you the overall energy investment and energy harvesting steps of glycolysis, putting in your 2 ATP here, getting 2 ATP here, 2 ATP here, so that our net gain is 2 ATP. So this is really helpful if you want to step back and look at this from the book's point of view as opposed to the drawings that I just had up. Although this lecture doesn't take you completely through this next section, it deals solely with glycolysis. And I think it's best for us to start in small pieces, break it down into small pieces so that it's not as confusing. So this video just dealt with glycolysis. The next one's going to deal with what goes on inside the mitochondria.